Yo, check it, got that new fire straight from the underground. What you need? This that real hip hop.
What's going on, man? How you doing? How you feeling? We have Mr. Bean in the building. Yeah, Mr. Bean. Rowan Atkinson is his name, but he has some things to say about woke culture. Now, I think woke culture is funny. I do. I really do. But my thoughts will be held while we listen to his. Let's check this out, man.
I'm a great believer that artists should never apologize for their art. You put something out there, you paint a watercolor, you make a joke, you make a television show, whatever it is. If people are offended, that's their problem.
All right, everyone, let's talk about Rowan Atkinson, the legend, the comic genius, and yes, Mr. Bean himself. This guy has not only mastered the art of making us laugh without even saying a word, but has also thrown himself into debates on one of the hottest topics today, free speech. Atkinson's views are a sharp, witty defense against the ever-growing culture of outrage. And trust me, he's got some bold thoughts that'll make you rethink your stance on censorship. So, if you're ready for a roller coaster of clever, no-nonsense truths, stick around. And hey, if you enjoy this, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us for more mind-opening content. Let's kick things off with Rowan's take on the purpose of comedy.
Do you worry about where comedy is going?
Not greatly, because it's a cyclical thing. You know, 1 minute, certain jokes or certain attitudes and outlooks are just out of fashion. And in the end, the whole point of a joke is to entertain people. And if people are not entertained, then you haven't fulfilled your brief. And so I'm a great believer that we must have free expression. And in comedy, you must be able to make jokes about absolutely anything. I mean, the only question is you would be wise to choose a context in which it's going to be appreciated, because not all jokes suit all contexts. The joke you tell around a table in a restaurant with some friends is not necessarily something for primetime TV. That's a pretty obvious statement.
So far, I gotta agree with him. Context. Context is a big thing when it comes to jokes. I think if you do not have the full context of how in which the joke was said and the things that led up to the joke, you won't understand the joke. And if you don't have any knowledge about the topic at hand, it can also go over your head and you'll miss it. It's jokes, though. I think jokes are funny. I think a lot of things are funny that most people wouldn't find funny. But that's me. But he, Mr. Bean, definitely agrees with me on the fact that it's all about context, bro.
But you'd be surprised how people like to abuse the context of comedy. And people often say, did you hear that joke that comedian said in that Netflix special? Did you think that was right or wrong? And all I say is, I wasn't there. I haven't heard the joke. I wasn't in the audience when the comedian said it. I don't know what the atmosphere was in the room. If people pay to see a comedian, they've got to accept whatever they provide. I'm a great believer that artists should never apologize for their art. You put something out there, you paint a watercolor, you make a joke, you make a television show, whatever it is. If people are offended, that's their problem. It's not yours. You've done your bit. If they don't want you to work for them again, then that's, that may become your problem. But you've done your bit and you've done your best, and it's up to the audience to judge. I'm a great believer that if a joke has an appreciative audience, no matter how small, no matter who they are, then it is worthy. It should be, as it were.
He's blunt.
Yes.
The point of a joke is to entertain. Simple, right? But in today's world, where every punchline gets dissected, he's got a solid point. And here's the kicker. He doesn't think comedians owe apologies just because someone decided they were offended. Think about it. If audiences willingly pay to watch a show, shouldn't they be ready for what they're about to get? After all, they signed up for that humor buffet, no substitutions allowed. And Rowan's stance on free expression doesn't stop with comedy.
My starting point when it comes to the consideration of any issue relating to free speech is my passionate belief that the second most precious thing in life is the right to express yourself freely. The most precious thing in life, I think, is food in your mouth, And the third most precious is a roof over your head. But a fixture for me in the number 2 slot is free expression, just below the need to sustain life itself. That is because I have enjoyed free expression in this country all my professional life and fully expect to continue to do so. Personally, I suspect highly unlikely to be arrested for whatever laws exist to contain free expression because of the undoubtedly privileged position that is afforded to those of a high public profile.
Okay. So, he's speaking about some things. He's a comedian. You know he's a comedian. You know he's going to make jokes. If you know you don't know how to take a joke, do not look for the court jester. And I'm not saying he is to belittle him, but just to give a picture, if the jester doesn't make you laugh, you're not the king. You just so happen to be in the king's court and watching the jester, and the jester is not making you laugh. But the person in charge probably found him funny. How do you deal with that? You don't like the joke. You didn't think it was right. You didn't think it was funny, but he did. Are you mad at the court jester for making the king laugh? Who are you mad at? Is the real question, I guess. We continue.
So my concerns are less for myself and more for those more vulnerable because of their lower profile. Like the man arrested in Oxford for calling a police horse gay. Or the teenager arrested for calling the Church of Scientology a cult. Or
Wait a minute, bro. Somebody got arrested for calling a horse gay? Did the horse get offended? Or was it the officer on the horse's behalf that got offended? I don't think that horse mind at all. I don't think he really tripped out too much about being called out of his name. Oh, probably because he doesn't even know he's a horse. Maybe could be that. Oh man.
or the cafe owner arrested for displaying passages from the Bible on a TV screen.
Wow.
When I heard of some of these more ludicrous offences and charges, I remembered that I had been here before in a fictional context. I once did a show called Not the 9 O'Clock News some years ago, and we did a sketch where Griff Rhys-Jones played Constable Savage, a manifestly racist police officer to whom I, as his station commander, is giving a dressing down for arresting a black man on a whole string of ridiculous, trumped-up and ludicrous charges. The charges for which Constable Savage arrested Mr. Winston Kadogo of 55 Mercer Road were these: walking on the cracks in the pavement, walking in a loud shirt in a built-up area during the hours of darkness, and one of my favourites, walking around all over the place. He was also arrested for urinating in a public convenience and looking at me in a funny way. Who would have thought that we would end up with a law that would allow life to imitate art so exactly?
Oh my God. Now that's funny. For walking all over the place. You got arrested for just being black, bro. That's hilarious to me. That's funny to me. Why is that funny? Because it's part in truth. It happens. It has happened, and people have seen it. People have witnessed it. Has it happened to me? I can't tell you, because any interaction I've had with a cop, if it was initially because I was black, I guess the interaction went well enough to where he didn't feel I was a threat. So, there's that. We continue, though.
To him, the right to express oneself freely is fundamental, ranking up there with the basics of survival. He's enjoyed the luxury of speaking his mind, but he's worried about the rest of us getting shut down over silly things. Imagine being fined because someone thinks you insulted a horse. It sounds absurd, but these cases are real. And to Rowan, it's a grim echo of one of his old sketches where people got arrested for the most ridiculous reasons.
Yeah.
Only this time, it's not a punchline.
Sir.
Rowan's message is clear. When offense becomes a reason for punishment, we've lost sight of the bigger picture. Atkinson then digs into why criticism has become so dangerous.
The clear problem with the outlawing of insult is that too many things can be interpreted as such. Criticism is easily construed as insult by certain parties. Ridicule easily construed as insult. Sarcasm, unfavourable comparison, merely stating an alternative point of view to the orthodoxy can be interpreted as insult. And because so many things can be interpreted as insult, it is hardly surprising that so many things have been, as the examples I talked about earlier show. Although the law under discussion has been on the statute book for over 25 years, it is indicative of a culture that has taken hold of the programs of successive governments, that with the reasonable and well-intentioned ambition to contain obnoxious elements in society, has created a society of an extraordinarily authoritarian and controlling nature.
Okay, so to catch us up, if, some people aren't exactly aware of what he's saying, right? Not saying that not everyone has a huge vocabulary, right? But just to summarize, there are people who can't take a joke. There are people out there who cannot take a joke. And the sad part about it is some of these people are able to make big decisions for the masses. So if they feel insulted about someone's sarcasm, I'm very sarcastic. I know I can be very sarcastic. I don't do it on purpose. I'm starting to believe it might be a little tism, but I don't like to even sit here and say that. That's a whole nother video. Can't take a joke. Sarcasm upsets you, jokes upset you, any type of satirical nature upsets you. So therefore, you want people to make you comfortable. So you outlaw everything that would be funny. And that makes it hard for people not to laugh at you. Because you are so hurt at the joke or the situation, whatever it is, the sketch, whatever. It could be a painting, whatever it is, you're upset about it. Why? You just need something to be mad at? I mean, it's maybe you should get a puppy. Maybe the people who are so butthurt about everything, they need to get a puppy. They need something to do. They need something to watch. They need something to do. Take care of a dog, maybe.
That is what you might call the new intolerance, a new but intense desire to gag uncomfortable voices of dissent.
It's like society has become so allergic to criticism that even harmless sarcasm is seen as a criminal act. He calls this the new intolerance, a fake open-mindedness that only tolerates people who think the exact same way. It's a kind of groupthink that pretends to be progressive but actually stifles real progress. He's got a point. When everyone's so focused on silencing each other, nobody's left to ask the important questions. Here's where Rowan's solution comes in.
I am not intolerant, say many people, say many softly spoken, highly educated, liberal-minded people. I'm only intolerant of intolerance. And people tend to nod sagely and say, oh yes, wise words, wise words. And yet if you think about this supposedly inarguable statement for longer than 5 seconds, you realize that all it is advocating is the replacement of one kind of intolerance with another, which to me doesn't represent any kind of progress at all. Underlying prejudices, injustices, or resentments are not addressed by arresting people. They are addressed by the issues being aired, argued, and dealt with, preferably outside the legal process. For me, the best way to increase society's resistance to insulting or offensive speech is to allow a lot more of it. As with childhood diseases, you can better resist those germs to which you have been exposed. We need to build our immunity to taking offense so that we can deal with the issues that perfectly justified criticism can raise. Our priority should be to deal with the message, not the messenger. As President Obama said in an address to the United Nations only a month or so ago, laudable efforts to restrict speech can become a tool to silence critics or oppress minorities. The strongest weapon against hateful speech is not repression, it is more speech. And that's the essence of my thesis, more speech.
He's all about building a tougher society, one that can handle a bit of offense without crying foul.
Yeah.
Rather than policing speech, he suggests we should face it, let it roll, and let people develop resilience. Think of it like an immunity booster, he says. If we really want a world that can handle tough ideas, we need to stop hiding from them and start listening, even if it makes us squirm a little. And maybe, just maybe, we might grow stronger for it. Finally, Rowan warns us about the outrage industry, a media frenzy that thrives on blowing things out of proportion.
As Lord Deere says, the freedom to be inoffensive is no freedom at all. The repeal of this word in this clause will be only a small step, but it will, I hope, be a critical one in what should be a longer-term project to pause and slowly rewind the creeping culture of censoriousness. It is a small skirmish in the battle, in my opinion, to deal with what Sir Salman Rushdie refers to as the outrage industry. Self-appointed arbiters of the public good, encouraging media-stoked outrage to which the police feel under terrible pressure to react. A newspaper rings up Scotland Yard. Someone has said something slightly insulting on Twitter about someone who we think a national treasure. What are you going to do about it? And the police panic and they scrabble around and then grasp the most inappropriate lifeline of all, Section 5 of the Public Order Act, that thing where you can arrest anybody for saying anything that might be construed by anyone else as insulting. They don't seem to need a real victim. They need only to make the judgment that somebody could have been offended if they had heard or read what has been said. The most ludicrous degree of latitude.
Picture it. Someone tweets a minor insult, and next thing you know, it's a front-page scandal. The scary part? Authorities feel pressured to step in, even if no one's actually harmed. This is where Rowan's alarm bells ring the loudest. When could be offensive becomes the standard for punishment, freedom of expression starts looking less like a right and more like a privilege that can be yanked away at any moment. Rowan Atkinson's words are a reality check for a world that's increasingly afraid of real conversation. If we want a society that truly values free expression, we've got to be willing to handle opinions that push our comfort zones. So, what do you think? Do you agree with Rowan's stance on free speech and comedy? Or do you see it differently? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit that like button.
So, I apologize for the sounds in the background. Puppies are doing their thing. But it's hard not to agree, man. It's really hard not to agree with it. My thought process is right on the same plane. And as someone who I used to get in trouble in school because people would laugh at things that I did or said, and I had no intention of being funny, but I'm getting in trouble. So now I may have said something that it became 10 times worse when the person that overheard or it was directed to or whatever felt like they were being laughed at. I meant no harm. I probably didn't understand something and was asking for a better way for you to clear it up with me. And it came across as sarcasm. I apologize, but I didn't understand. Now someone laughed at you and you're upset with me. Okay, cool. I don't really know what to do with that other than know that you're going to be upset and know that something's going to happen because you're upset. But why? Why are you upset? I guess that's my thing. Like, what are you really mad at? And if you really knew what you were mad at, couldn't you see maybe how it's not that big of a deal? Or it might not be what you think it is? I don't know. I I hope people begin to see that it's not everyone's not against you. They're not. Sometimes you really just got to get out of your own way and stop being so sensitive. But God forbid you say that, right? Yeah, man, this was Woke Culture, rather. Um, by Woke Watch. That's the channel. And check them out, man. I think it would be good for you if you got a little bit of me in you. You know, you feel like me on some topics. That might be a good thing for you to check out. Woke Watch, man. Shout out to Rowan Atkinson for his well put words on critiques and criticism. I'm pretty sure you've been criticized over something that you honestly probably thought was funny or didn't even really understand. In the comments, man, when's the last time you've been criticized over something that just couldn't explain? You had no idea why it was happening. I'd love to hear it. Till next time, though, peace.
Perfect.